What's up YouTube, Evan from Epic Duel Time here. So I wanted to make a video for you guys about something that I thought was, a little funny, but generally something that actually a lot of players have questions about, and it's expressions that are used by YuGiOh players. These are common expressions that tend to be overused or misused or whatever the case, but it's kind of funny. I'm guilty of some of this myself, and some of these I use as a joke rather than like as seriously as some people do. If you go on like any of the YuGiOh Facebook groups or forums or any of that stuff, you'll see YouTube, you'll see a lot of this being used very, very frequently. But that being said, sometimes people don't know what any of this means. I know that after I took a huge break from this game and I came back to it and I kind of wanted to play competitively, I didn't know what some of these meant. But I do now, to my misfortune. And so, but I'll let you guys in on it, and we'll go over them. So the first one is autoplay, also known as autopilot. Essentially, the idea that a deck is so easy in its win condition and goals that it basically requires very little effort to create the plays. The problem with this terminology is that it implies that the player itself, his or herself, does not affect the game, and that's completely untrue. It's really an overused phrase that really has no place in our community, but people use it all the time because they either don't understand, or they're upset, or they don't like it, or whatever. It's generally, the more somebody says this, generally implies that they're not a particularly good player, simply because this is their go-to excuse for why a player did better than them, or why they don't like a deck. Not a very good reason. XO. So this is how a lot of players speak about their rankings in a tournament. So remember that in when you're discussing tournament wins, generally it goes how many matches you won, how many matches you lost, and then how many matches you have tied. So if I'm X1, I'm saying that the only amount of matches that I've lost today is 1. If I'm X2, I've lost 2 matches. It generally doesn't take into account the amount of wins, simply because your losses are easier to track your standards, your standings in the tournament than your wins. I know that's weird to say, but the amount of losses you have matters more than your wins. Bubble. Essentially, when a player is on the bubble, as they'll say, it means that they're on the cusp of, right at the very edge of being able to, a kind of a make or break position in ranking. So generally, for someone who's looking for a major top in like a regional or YCS, they're looking to be X1. Sometimes X2s can get in on that. Regionals, it's usually at X1, meaning only 1 loss, and then if you're just looking for the invite, then that's X2. Sometimes you can get away on an X2-1, rarely an X3. I don't see that ever, but I know that it can happen. But usually X2-1's like the absolute worst you can do, and get an invite. But that's not always the case. But bubble just simply means that you're playing at X2, still playing, and that you're 1 loss away from not reaching the goal. Broken. This is another term that a lot of YuGiOh players use when they're trying to discuss a really powerful card or a really effective card, or deck or anything. It's misused mostly. People think that that cards that are good are ruining the game, and it's stupid. Trust me, this game's far from ruined. Dragon Rulers are far from the worst thing that has ever hit this game. I mean, sure, the baby dragons were crazy and stupid, but I mean, there's always something worse than what you have now. Just always remember, there's always something that was worse or a worse time in this game. There was a bottom, but it's another stupid term that generally, the more inexperienced and the less somebody knows what the hell they're talking about, the more likely they are to use something like this in conversation. Stacking. Stacking refers to cheating. Essentially, it means you're either trying to manipulate the deck before the match or during the game by placing either if you're handling your opponent's deck, the really good cards on the bottom, or if you're handling your own deck, the really good cards, and trying to work their way to the top by being able to kind of peek at them or cheat or having them marked or anything. It's called stacking. Sack. Essentially meaning that your opponent just kind of threw a lot at you all at once and won. Usually that's how that works. It can be as simple as, you know, the next card on their deck's Dark Hole, and they have like Blackluster Soldier in hand. Like that would be considered a sack. That they, you've played a fairly, strong control game, and in a couple cards they just completely it's a reversal. GLHF is an online term for good luck, have fun. You'll see that a lot on Dueling Network. Salty. This is when someone is grumpy and kind of sour about it, and we use the term salty, which is stupid, but I'm really guilty for this. Salty just kind of means it leaves a salty taste in your mouth. Like, you're frustrated, you're kind of pissed, but it's Yu-Gi-Oh, so you don't rage about it because it's a card game. So you're just kind of salty. You just got some attitude about it. Got a chip on your shoulder. Scrubbing out or scrub out, essentially meaning that you just did awful. You lost and you did really terrible. Plus or minus. This can refer to one of two things. This can refer to trading, and this can refer to the game. Things like a +1 in the game refers to card advantage. So let's say I have Pot of Greed. I play a card, so that counts as my -1 of me losing a card from my hand. So let's say I activate Pot of Greed. That's considered -1. And I'm drawing 2 cards, so in my advantage, that's 1, 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. That's a +1. That means I have 1 more card for what I gave up. So I gave up a card to get 2 more. Therefore, I have +1. Same thing goes for minus. In trading, it generally means value differences. So let's say you accidentally undervalue your card by $10, and I know that, but I still go with it. I still go ahead with the trade anyway. People refer to it as like plussing, like, oh, I plus 10 off that guy. Like, it's really stupid. Yu-Gi-Oh's a really dumb community. Juice. This is the same thing. Essentially, just meaning that you kind of rip somebody off. Juicing generally refers to inflating your estimated card values and generally undervaluing your fellow traders' values. Cookie cutter. This essentially means that a deck that is fairly standard in all of its forms. This kind of stemmed from when a format called Cookie Cutter Chaos, which was essentially a chaos deck that really had like 3 cards worth of variation possibilities, and that was it. It was so standard in almost every single form of the deck. It had like less than 5 cards you could customize in the deck and change and tweak, and generally those just tend to be less efficient anyway. But it's generally, right now it's mostly used inappropriately and just said that, that deck's so cookie cutter, and it's not, but, they're trying to say that the deck is too standard. The nuts, just basically the absolute greatest hand, or the absolute greatest board, or something good. I mean, if you draw the nuts, it means you do really well. And Zodiac Duelists, I don't know, I threw this in here. It is the most brain-numbing, mind-melting experience you will ever have. It is awful. It is like taking a power drill and setting it to your temple, because that is essentially what this Facebook group is. It is just brain-melting stupidity in its finest, and they are the source for all of these, for all of the material of this video. That's where I decided to. I threw a question up there asking what people thought the most overused phrases of Yu-Gi-Oh players were, and they gave some suggestions, and now I'm insulting the group because I think it's a stupid community that fosters the stupidest mentality. Oh, it's brain-numbing, but it's like Jerry Springer, where I think it's awful, but I haven't left. It's bad. bad. It's like a train wreck. And that's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and keep dueling, America.